comparisons with planning tests, the everyday sacred. We bring you content and conversations that talk about community, talk about the importance of how do we uplift, how do we sustain, and practice development within our communities. And we are here in Bermuda. We've been here for the past 3 days on the ground, seeing different things. And I am really excited about the conversation we're gonna have today. I'm here with Ian Cameron, and we are at his shop. We are at the Griot right here in Hamilton, Bermuda. And I'm excited. I mean, I'm looking around and I see like fantastic like artwork, African artwork, just the whole essence of what you created here. And I'm so interested in having this conversation and learning more about Ian's inspiration for creating this space, but also, you know, what it means in terms of his definition of how do you use shops like this in order to foster conversations that make people feel safe in communities. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for welcoming me. All right. All right, man. All right. All right.
So the Griot. So the Griot is a store that my wife and I started 2 years ago, actually, just before the pandemic.
Okay.
And what we really wanted to create was a sacred space and a safe space for Black people in Bermuda and around the world to really come and be able to share in our experience, right? So we called the space the Griot because the Griot is a West African storyteller and historian. Right. So in our view, each of us has our own unique story to tell, and those collection and that collective story is something that we all share in, right? So we wanted to really create this space to be like a cultural hub as well as a retail space to give opportunities to other persons that are, you know, maybe creatives, artists, and so forth. They don't, or maybe not be able to afford their own retail space, so be able to sell this stuff here, right? So it's really about the whole communal essence of who and what we are. You know what I mean? That's been the motivation for this space.
Right, and I love it. I mean, and just, you know, describing some of the things that greeted me as I entered the door. You know, first, you know, the instance, you know, as we approached the space, I was like, oh, wow, you know, I'm excited. I could like tell like that there was something special and unique here. But, you know, once we walked through the door, you know, seeing the African artwork, seeing, you know, the items that you have here, the books, you know, really telling the story. Books that I was like, hey, you know, I can identify with. There was someone on the shelf that I instantly saw and like, hey, you know, like this is what's up. This is what's up. And so, you know, part of what you do here is you connect with community members. You talked about how some of the merchandise that's actually here is made by local folks, and so you cultivate connections in order to do that.
Of course. It's interesting because things all come together, right? It's really about this collective energy that we all have.
Right.
So even when it came to the African artifacts that I have here that were sourced directly from the continent, you know, I utilize the relationships I have with my close friends that actually live on the continent, people I went to school with and the rest of it. And I was like, look, you know, I'm opening up the store and I really want to share in a lot of the craft and the culture directly from the continent so that we can appreciate it here as diasporic Africans, right? And so we're able to source things that I've always liked, you know, like the Ashanti stools, the mask, the chihuahua, you know, the fabric and all of that. And I get to tell the story to locals about what these things represent. You know what I mean? Like it's not just something that looks nice, it has a story, it has a meaning behind it. You know what I mean? So it's really about creating those connections. And it's funny because I have a piece over there that I was having a conversation with one of the carvers over there in Ghana, and he actually carved a stool for me, and it has the Bermuda gumbays on it.
Oh, wow.
So just think about that representation, you know, like this is a stool that was carved in Ghana by a master artist, and it depicts our cultural dances, the gumbays. You know what I mean? Like, where are you gonna find that?
That's excellent. I mean, that's wonderful. We have to take more time to talk about the gumbays too. So in talking about Bermuda Day, which is coming up, where we'll have a chance to see that culture on display. And also, you know, I'm looking that you have your djembe in here, and I just revealed earlier, you know, I just started with djembe, you know, taking up lessons, but you know, you use this as a space to connect with artists and performers, and you've had some artists and performers. Let's talk about that. Like, talk about what that means to you.
You know, it's interesting. In Bermuda, you have people that on an individual basis engage in certain things. Like you have people that play the kora, people that play the djembe, we have African dances and so forth. So a really close friend of mine, you know, he's a really good drummer. I mean, he's excellent. Probably the best drummer in the art, in my opinion. And I was talking to him, I was like, yo man, let's do some classes, because people come there all the time wanting to learn how to play the djembe. And he was like, let's do this. You know what I mean? So we have a class on Wednesday evenings. I also drum with the Donkili dance group as well, so that's also a big opportunity. But also in this space, we actually host events. So, like for instance, this coming June 11th, we're having a live poetry and music event, and we put these on every couple of months, and it gives young artists a chance to showcase their talent, you know what I mean? Because we have so much talent on this island, it's unreal, man, you know? And some people that you wouldn't even guess, so just you see them on the street and you just never know how much talent they have in there that until you witness them realizing the craft, you know what I mean? So we provide the opportunity to them as well. We have the shows that take place upstairs, you know, we have an upwards of 70 people up there, and it's just a whole vibe.
It's a whole vibe, right? Yeah. I certainly, knowing this now, I wish I'm gonna have to make plans to come back to Bermuda so that I can take in some of this culture. And let's talk about, what this means in terms of, celebrating local, culture for folks here in Bermuda, right here where you grew up. I mean, what does it mean in terms of celebrating and uplifting that, talking about the folks of Bermuda, talking about what's special to you, and you can use that as a segue into Bermuda Day. What are we likely to see tomorrow?
It's Bermuda Day. So it's interesting that the origins of Bermuda Day really have not much to do about Bermuda. It's a holiday to celebrate. It's called King Victoria Day. So it really speaks to like colonial past, you know what I mean, and us being a British colony and the rest of it. But at the same time, it's something that we take and create and adopt as our own. You know what I mean? So Bermuda Day, when you think of that, you don't think about the Queen, you think about Britain, you think about the local people, and how we express ourselves, how we celebrate, how we come together. So Bermuda Day, you will see things like we have a parade that takes place. We also have the half marathon race and all of that. I've had the opportunity to run myself in the past, and it's really empowering. You got the whole crowd up there, everybody cheering you on, and you're just having that communal sense, you know what I mean, where everybody's just kind of coming together in unity, So you see a lot of that. You see everybody dressed up. You see everybody with the food and everything, a lot of music. Just a whole vibe, like, us expressing ourselves. And in what ways is African culture folded into what we might see tomorrow? So I think the biggest display of that connection will be with the Gombe's. So the Gombe's are interesting because a lot of people look at them as, they're just dancers, they're performers, but it goes much deeper than that. You playing the djembe, you understand the importance of the drum. You know what I mean? The significance of it and telling the story. Like, it is an instrument of communication. And the Gombe's actually tell a story in their dances. Even the traditional garb that they wear, it's so many layers to it. They wear the mask. When you wear that mask, you assume the essence and the culture of your ancestors. You know what I mean? You have a role to play in evoking that spirit. You know what I mean? And being able to connect with everybody energetically through the music. So a Gombe traditionally has been like a symbol of resistance. You know what I mean? For people that were once, or the descendants of people that were once enslaved. The Gombe's was a way of us telling our story. Through dance. You see the Gombe with the whip that represents, of course, slave driver there with the whip. And and you see the other Gombe dancers kind of making fun of it and coming around, and they have the axe and things like that, the bow and arrow and all that represents the ancient warrior spirit within us, to resist those things. That we are still here. We're still representative of our African ancestry. So that's just a tradition that we carry on to the present day. That I'm happy and proud to say that still exists and is still thriving,
Absolutely. I mean, and to that point, I think about, the Gombe and what you mentioned, and seeing how that diasporic culture is sort of here in Bermuda, and that exists in many different places. And what it's a reminder of me, it's a reminder to me that we are connected through diaspora. We are connected through our ancestry and being the descendants of people who were enslaved. And I'm wondering, in terms of your vision and how you see supporting and just sort of celebrating that, and how you see that being of importance to you here at the shop. Is there any connection, behind, how you see, this not only sort of being a place that celebrates folks here in Bermuda and Bermudian culture, but also is connected to the diaspora. There are other folks that can come here like us, you know, and just like, wow, and just connect it. Like, what does that mean to you?
Well, that means, for me, that means everything. Right. That was our whole inspiration for creating this space. Right. You know what I mean? For us to come together. And, you know, we can share in this. This is our collective history. This is our collective cultural expression. Right. You know what I mean? So just like you talk about in Africa, being able to have that connection with, you know, my friends there and the rest of it, like, we're all part of the same. We all come from the same place. We all carry that ancestral spirit, that African spirit. Right. And, you know, even the types of books we have here and things like that. Like it talks about the whole mind, body, spirit connection, but from an African standpoint. Right. You know what I mean? Because that's our truth. That's our reality. And that's what we live, you know? So, you know, in this digital age is amazing because you can share all that. You know, I get, you know, orders and questions from people from around the world, you know, asking about the Griot, asking about items that we have here, you know, what's the motivation and so forth. We're able to share, like, you know, on social media, the events that we have and things like that. So we're more connected now than we ever were. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that goes far to create, you know, that universal kind of understanding and embrace of who and what we are.
Right. Absolutely. I appreciate it, man. Well, I am so appreciative for this conversation, and you know, I want to let you go and let you enjoy the rest of your day. But before we do, just one final question. You know, if you would just share, we're the Everyday Sacred. Again, we bring this lens around community improvement through an equitable development lens, through a human-centered lens. And I'd just like to, you know, what's sacred to you about the importance of connecting with community? You know, why does that matter to us as Black men? Why does that matter to us in our vision and what we seek to do and create?
It's interesting because I've been having a lot of conversations recently with people because everywhere you go, there are inherent issues. You know what I mean? We see the same types of challenges when it comes to, especially like young Black males and so forth. Right. And one thing I've always pushed is this fact that we as descendants of Africa, we are African, and we are communal people by nature, right? So we look for commonality. You know, when you walked into this space, the first thing you talked about was the commonalities that you saw, you know, places you've been and if you're an experience, you know what I mean? That's naturally how we connect, and that is our greatest strength. Yeah. So in that, there's also a huge responsibility of each and every one of us to make a concerted effort to establish those types of connections and support each other, whether that's financially, socially, and the like. You know what I mean? I think that for too long, and in so many ways, we as Black people tend to look to other institutions to solve our own problems, but we have the answers to our own problems. You know what I mean? But on an individual level, we need to do more and make a concerted effort and be cognizant of what it is that we're doing, whether that comes to supporting Black businesses, supporting each other, you know, whether that's, you know, providing guidance and insight to a young person that needs it. You know what I mean? Like, those are the little things that we need to do in order to enhance who we are as a people, man, and move forward. Straight up.
Powerful words. I mean, I'm so appreciative again, you know, grateful for this conversation, and I'm grateful for you listening to us. Again, we are the Everyday Sacred. Please be sure to follow us. And if you're in Bermuda, if you're in Hamilton, Bermuda, please stop by the Griot and check it out and have a wonderful conversation with Ian yourself. And so for that, thank you and enjoy your day. All right, man.
Bless, King.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Always.
All right.
Awesome.